evening. I'm Eric Halpern here with Backtalk Sports on Monday night. I'm also here with Max and Jeff, and we're going to talk a lot of football tonight. Big weekend this past weekend. We've had 3 out of 4 interesting games. One was kind of a blowout, but so let's get started. Max, most compelling game of the weekend?
It's got to be the Saints and the Seahawks in the NFC. You get the Seahawks, who had all this controversy. Should they be in the playoffs? 7-9. Is this even fair to knock out a 10-6 team, not put them in the playoffs, and put a 7-9 division winner in the playoffs? And they proved that they belong here. They beat the defending world champions, and they're moving on. Who says that they can't beat the Chicago Bears next week?
I mean, you brought up a good point. Do you personally, before the playoffs, did you think a 7-9 team should be able to be in the playoffs?
I think that you have to let the system work how it has for all the years. You have to put the division winners into the playoffs. And although the NFC West, let's face it, is the worst division in football by far, no question, they knock each other off. They've had a lot of splits, and they're 7-9. They're 7-9, but they still won their division. They still deserve a playoff bid, and as they showed, they certainly belong there. They beat the defending world champions.
Do you think they have a shot against the Bears next week?
I can't count them out after that performance. I mean, that was at home in Seattle. The fans were going crazy. Everyone knew that they had to prove a point, and they had to show that they belonged here. And they came out. Matt Hasselbeck threw for 4 touchdowns. Marshawn Lynch had a 67-yard run, which really sealed the deal. And if you saw the play, it was one of the best plays last week in the playoffs, one of the best plays I've seen all season personally, with the stiff arm. Everything went together for the Seahawks, and they came out on top in what a lot of people were calling a 2-touchdown favorite Saints team.
9 broken tackles on that run. What about you, Jeff?
Well, I'd have to say that the most compelling game would definitely be the Chiefs and the Ravens. After the tragic loss of Ed Reed's brother, who went missing earlier in the week, the team rallied around Ed Reed to help get him to the point where he could stay focused on the game, and the team really seemed to rally around him to really defeat the Chiefs and move on to that next level where they will be going against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that leaves me with, let's see, over the other 2 games this weekend. The Colts-Jets.
The Colts-Jets game. And I'm a Patriots fan. I really didn't know who I wanted to win that. I hate the Colts. I hate the Jets. But one of them had to come through. I'm actually proud of the New York Jets. I think they came out in a game where a lot of people were counting them out in Indianapolis against Peyton Manning, who we all know in the playoffs is in his own league, the best there is in the NFL. Maybe Tom Brady, the best there is in the NFL in the playoffs, I'd say. And they somehow came out on top. Their defense worked perfectly. Their offense wasn't there the whole game, but they came out. They kicked a lot of field goals. And let me tell you, Mark Sanchez on that last drive, that was impressive. That was the 1-minute drill even. Braylon Edwards went up, caught the ball, set them up for a perfect field goal. And I was actually impressed. That shows that this is a team that can give up points, make it seem like they lost the game in the last couple seconds, and somehow come back and still come out on top.
Cromartie's kick return also big in that last drive. And that if that penalty on the blocked punt, or not the blocked punt, do you remember that when the Jets were going to punt, Colts went
roughing the
kicker. Mm-hmm. That could have changed the game. Who knows? And again, Peyton Manning, one of the best playoff quarterbacks ever.
Yep.
His record's 9-10.
I'd have to say that he is definitely struggling in the playoffs. It shows that he is 9-10 in his playoff career, and he definitely does perform outstanding in the preseason where he can pick apart defenses, but he definitely seems to fall apart when it really counts.
When we look at the last couple years, though, he's won a Super Bowl, made it to the Super Bowl last year in a very impressive season. Maybe he doesn't come out on top all the time, but when you're going against Peyton Manning, it really doesn't matter who he surrounds himself with at wide receiver, at running back on defense. He's Peyton Manning, and we've seen, as Patriots fans, he can make miracles happen. He can come back. He can sustain a lead. He can beat teams that really probably are better than him. And there's something about Peyton Manning that when you put the ball in his hands, no matter who is on his team, he's going to make something happen. He's going to lead them to the playoffs, and he's going to make some noise in the playoffs and almost pull off the win.
I think he's made a lot of noise, but his numbers, actually, I was reading an article today, if you take his playoff numbers, they're very similar to Jay Cutler's regular season numbers. So clearly there's a big drop-off for him regular season to postseason. But interesting topic. So then, anyways, what was the last game last week?
We have to go over to last night's game, the Philadelphia Eagles
Green Bay Packers
hosting the Green Bay Packers. And what a lot of people said was Michael Vick's first shot to lead his team to a Super Bowl, and guess what? After that game, no more Eagles.
Throwing a touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the game. defeating the chances of
Interception.
what I say.
Touchdown.
Oh, that's my fault.
Nick's
Interception in the end zone. We're defeating the purposes of the Eagles moving on in the playoffs.
I thought he was going to do it. Who are you rooting for in that game, just for curiosity?
I was rooting for the Packers. I had been a Packers fan all year long. I love Aaron Rodgers and their attack style. Very similar to the Patriots, I feel. I feel that Aaron Rodgers is the next step from Tom Brady.
I truthfully thought, or still think, that the winner of that game is going to be the NFC team represented in the Super Bowl. I think that those were the two best teams in the NFC. The Bears, good season. Falcons had a great season. But those two teams, something about them, they have two of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, probably the two best in the NFC. And their whole offense is so high-powered, both teams in their own respected ways. You have Deshaun Jackson, who in my opinion is the most he's the most versatile player in the NFL. He can return kicks, he can return punts, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball. He gets yards after the catch like nobody else. And he showed us against the New York Giants that he can beat a team almost single-handedly. Then he put Michael Vick in there. Best quarterback in the NFC, second best in the league this year, in my opinion, to Tom Brady. When you put him on the field, once again, anything can happen. He attacks you with the throw. You're guarding everyone, guess what? He'll run it up the middle and get the first down on 3rd and 10. He'll do anything. And to see him out of the playoffs is a relief to all other teams. But you still got to fear a healthy Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers coming at you.
Yeah, they're a strong 6 seed. I think they're the strongest 6 seed in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly.
Definitely.
All right, so talked about last week's matchups. Now we're moving on to next weekend. So what game you guys want to start with?
I think we got to start. I mean, we're in Massachusetts. Why
Yeah.
not start with the New England
You want to
Patriots?
close with them, save the best for last?
All right, I'll hold myself
All right.
back. We can start with the NFC if you want.
All right, we'll go NFC.
So we got the Bears versus the
Seahawks.
in Chicago. That's going to be a great game. Definitely one I'm going to be watching. A Seahawks team who's making a lot of noise. A Bears team which has been a quiet 2 seed. I don't know if you guys agree with
I
that.
completely agree.
They really haven't. They haven't been the most explosive team. You haven't heard, oh, Chicago Bears, watch out for them. But quietly, they've gotten their first round bye, and now they're in a great position to knock off the Seattle Seahawks and make their way onto an NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I definitely agree with that. I believe that Matt Hasselbeck's experience in the playoffs will definitely play a huge factor in determining the outcome of the game, but I also believe that the Bears defense and Brian Urlacher, the leader of that defense, will step up and make a big play this week.
It's gonna come. I think it's gonna come down to a lot of Jay Cutler. I mean, are you gonna see his 3 interceptions a game as the old Jay Cutler? Are you gonna see a new and improved kind of conservative, not making as many mistakes?
He's going to need to be consistent throughout the whole game and throughout the whole playoffs. He cannot have any of those loopholes where he throws a couple picks or he doesn't really have the game that he needs to have because, let's face it, all the teams left, even the Seahawks, they're all great teams. And if you make one little mistake, that can be one mistake too much, and there goes your season.
Who are you gonna be rooting for?
Seahawks. I always like the underdog.
I've got to say Seahawks, too. Nothing's better than seeing a team who everyone doubted winning games and making some noise.
No, I mean initially I was kind of skeptical on whether they should be in the playoffs or not with their 7-9 record, but after winning last week, all I can do is root for them.
They proved the point.
They proved their point. So then moving on back to the AFC, Baltimore-Pittsburgh.
This game has been referred to as Armageddon by Terrell Suggs.
It's going to be war.
This is going to be a very, very physical game, much like we have seen all year long. But these teams have had 2 matchups in the regular season, I believe.
Yep.
And both, I believe they also split those.
Yep.
They split those. I'm just looking for James Harrison to make a big hit, for Ray Lewis to make a big play. It's going to be a great game. Going to be all about defense.
That is definitely true. It's different that in this high-powered offensive league we've seen that we're looking at a game where you have some of the best defensive players of this generation on the same field. James Harrison's more of a new player, but he's certainly proved you can't mess with him. And you got Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. You just surround yourself with defensive all-stars. And then you look at the offense, and they're not too bad either. You got Ben Roethlisberger. He's got a couple rings to his name. On the other side, Joe Flacco's had a great season. Their running game with Ray Rice, when he comes alive, he is hard to stop. And although the defense is so great, I don't think you can count out the offense. I think that it'll be probably a 20-24, 20-17 game right around there, around 20 points a team. It's definitely going to be a close game. When you get these rivals, I mean, 2 of the best rivals in football, when you have them playing each other in the playoffs, No one wants to lose. No one wants to be embarrassed. It's going to be a great game, and it's going to come down to the wire, in my opinion.
It's going to be full of big hits. That's
definitely